My sister laughed during dinner. Meet my fiancé, a ranger, Maya said brightly, introducing Eric like she was unveiling a trophy. Then her eyes slid to me. And this is my brother Jordan. He works somewhere in government. She smirked as she looked at my uniform, like it was something I wore for attention rather than duty. I didn't respond. I just sat there. Eric noticed the patch on my shoulder. Everything in him changed. Mid-conversation he stopped. His posture straightened. His eyes locked onto it like he couldn't unsee it. Then he snapped to attention. Maya, stop, he said sharply. The table went quiet instantly. He looked at me again, but differently now. No longer casual, no longer polite. Do you understand what that patch means? Maya let out a small laugh, still thinking it was a joke. She lifted her wine glass like she was in control of the moment. Then her hand slipped. The wine poured out. Red liquid hit my chest and spread instantly across my dress uniform. It soaked into the fabric, across the ribbons I'd earned in places I was never allowed to talk about. Through years of work I couldn't explain to anyone in that room. The restaurant went silent. All 40 people stopped. Maya froze for half a second, then forced a smile like she could still steer it. Now maybe you'll stop pretending you're important, she said. Eric didn't laugh. He didn't move. He just stared at me, tense and still, like he was trying to process something that didn't fit the story he'd been told. Because for Maya I had always been simple. The boring brother. The government guy. The one who sat at a desk and made excuses. And I never corrected her. That was part of the job. You don't explain. You don't defend. You let people misunderstand. What she didn't know was what I actually did. 8 years at Fort Meade. Signals intelligence. Pattern analysis. Target tracking inside secure compartments where names don't exist outside the room. My work was turning fragments into certainty. Finding people who didn't want to be found. Helping operations teams avoid walking into death. After 6 years I was pulled into a joint task force. Levels most analysts never reach, access most people never even know exists. My family never asked. So Maya filled the silence for them. At dinners, birthdays, holidays she built a version of me that made her feel bigger by comparison. Jordan's busy with spreadsheets. Jordan can't take time off, his filing cabinet needs him. Even my parents laughed sometimes. My father once said, somebody's got to do the boring work. I didn't correct any of it. Not once. Until that night started to unravel. It escalated slowly at first. Maya started dating Eric, an Army Ranger. Loud, confident, respected in a way that came instantly in any room like that. She invited me to a Super Bowl party. I almost didn't go. I just finished a long shift with no sleep. But she insisted. The apartment was full of soldiers and veterans. People trading stories that sounded like mythology to anyone outside that world. Maya introduced me with a smile. This is Jordan. He works in government. Someone asked what I did. Intelligence analysis, I said. Maya laughed before I finished. He sits at a computer all day. Very important filing work. The room laughed with her. Not cruel. Just dismissive. Eric nodded. Support roles matter, he said. We need paperwork people. I didn't argue. I stayed quiet. Left early. Outside Eric followed me. Don't take her jokes personally, he said. She's proud of you. I didn't correct him either. Because correction requires belief that it matters. Over time it got worse. Money sent for my father's car repairs turned into Maya's dinner out with Eric. Every explanation became a joke. Every truth became something easier to ignore. Then came the engagement. Late night calls. Demands. Assumptions. You'll pay for it, Maya said. And I did. Because silence had always been easier than confrontation. Until May 15th. The engagement dinner was staged like a celebration, but it felt like a performance I hadn't agreed to be part of. 40 people. White and gold decorations. My bill. And me, exhausted, underslept, sitting at the far edge of the room like I didn't belong anywhere else. Maya stood up for her toast. She smiled like she always did when she wanted an audience. She thanked everyone. Her parents. Her fiancé. And then she looked at me. My brother Jordan, she said, who somehow managed to leave his office cubicle long enough to join us. Laughter followed. Then Eric added casually. Maya said you do HR or something. Filing reports. Support stuff. Respect. I do intelligence analysis, I said quietly. Right, he said. Spreadsheets. More laughter. And then Maya leaned forward. You've always been jealous, Jordan, she said. Eric is a real hero. You're just ordinary. Her voice sharpened. You've been pretending your whole life. Then she threw the wine. Now it was in my uniform. The room was silent. My mother was the first to speak. Jordan, go clean yourself up, she said, embarrassed. You're making this worse. My father nodded. Just step away. I looked at them. Not angry. Just clear. And something inside me stopped carrying them. I stood. Wine dripped from my sleeves. I'm leaving, I said. And I turned. As I walked, the soaked fabric shifted. The lapel opened. The patch showed. Eric saw it first. Everything in his face collapsed at once. No, he said, voice breaking. That's not. He stood so fast his chair hit the floor. That's a task force patch. Silence deepened. You're not, he said, staring at me now like he was seeing me for the first time. You're the one building the packages. His voice dropped. You're the one who tells us where to go. Then he turned slowly toward Maya. You told me he was a secretary, Eric said. His voice wasn't loud. Didn't need to be. That sentence landed heavier than anything shouted in the entire room. Maya blinked like she didn't understand what was happening anymore. Eric, come on, she said weakly. It's just Jordan. But Eric wasn't looking at her. He was looking at me. Really looking now. And whatever version of the night he had built in his head was collapsing in real time. Then his eyes dropped to the patch again. His posture tightened. Not casual anymore. Not social. Instinctive. Do you even know what that means? He asked, quieter. Maya gave a nervous laugh, still trying to hold the room together. It's just a patch. No, Eric said sharply. That alone shut her up. He exhaled once like he was forcing himself to slow down. That patch, he said, turning slightly so the whole table could hear, means he operates at a level most people in this room don't even know exists. Silence spread further. That means he's not support staff. That means he's not paperwork. That means when units like mine go out, someone like him has already spent months making sure we don't walk blind into a coffin. Maya's face shifted. Confusion turning into something closer to fear. Eric's voice stayed steady, but it had changed completely. You don't joke about that, he said. Then his eyes came back to me. And he saw it. The exhaustion. The tension in my hands. The weight I hadn't put down in years. How long since you slept? He asked quietly. 3 hours, I said. 5 days running. A flicker crossed his face. Respect, disbelief, anger at the same time. He turned back to Maya. This man paid for this entire dinner, he said, voice tightening. While working shifts most people here couldn't survive for a week. And you threw wine on him. You called him nothing. Maya shook her head quickly. I was joking. Everyone was. No, Eric cut in. One word. Final. You weren't joking. You were humiliating him. The room went still again. No laughter left. No side comments. Just realization spreading late through 40 people. Eric dragged a hand down his face. Then he said it. The wedding's off. It didn't sound dramatic. It sounded decided. The reaction hit instantly. Maya screamed. My mother stood up at the same time, talking over her. My father's chair scraped back like he couldn't decide whether to intervene or collapse. Eric, you can't just. Maya grabbed his arm. It's just Jordan, he's nobody. That did it. Eric pulled free. Slow. Controlled. Done. You're wrong, he said. A beat. You are. He turned his head slightly toward his team. Let's go. No hesitation from them. No questions. They stood like it was an order that made more sense than anything else in the room. As they moved out, Eric paused beside me. The noise behind us didn't exist for him anymore. He snapped to attention. Clean. Precise. Then saluted. Not for show. Not for an audience. For respect. Staff Sergeant, he said formally, I apologize for my conduct. It was unacceptable. I returned the salute slowly. At ease, Ranger. His hand dropped. Thank you for your service, sir, he said. Real service. And then he walked out. The others followed. No jokes. No glances back. Just silence leaving the room with them. What stayed behind wasn't just awkwardness. It was collapse. Maya crying openly now. My mother trying to fix something she no longer understood. My father arguing with no clear target. Strangers whispering in disbelief. One woman I didn't know stepped closer to me. "Is it true?" she asked quietly. "What he said about your work?" "I can't discuss my work," I said. She nodded once, slowly. "I'm sorry," she said. "You didn't deserve that." I didn't answer. I just left. Outside, the air felt colder than it should have been. My phone lit up before I even reached my car. My mother. My father. Again and again. I blocked them all. Then I sat in the driver's seat and finally let the noise catch up to me. The years of it, not just the night. The dismissal. The jokes. The way they had learned to shrink me into something easier to ignore. My phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered. "Captain Reeves," a calm voice said. "This is Staff Sergeant Eric Brennan." I didn't speak. "I wanted to apologize properly," he said. "Not just for tonight. For everything I said about your work." Pause. "I was wrong." Another beat. "I believed what your sister told me. That you were support staff. Paperwork. I didn't question it because I trusted her." His voice tightened slightly. "That's on me." "It's fine," I said. "It's not," he replied immediately. Then quieter. "I know what your work is now. I've seen enough deployments to recognize what makes it possible for people like me to come home." Silence stretched. "You save lives," he said. Pause. Then more carefully. "She doesn't deserve you. And neither do they." I didn't respond. Not because I disagreed. Because for the first time I didn't need anyone else to define it for me. "I talked to my guys," he added. Words already moving. "People will know what happened." "You don't need to do that," I said. "I know," Eric replied. "But sometimes consequences are the only language people actually listen to." When the call ended, I didn't move. I just sat there with the silence. Then I drove home. I didn't think. I didn't process. I just followed the routine my body knew better than my mind. I took off the uniform. Let it fall where it landed. Showered until the water ran cold and stayed that way. And slept for 14 hours like my body had been waiting for permission to shut down. The messages started the next morning. My unknown numbers. Emails. Voicemails stacked on top of each other like they could rebuild what had already collapsed. "You ruined my life." I deleted them without replying. Day 2 my father came. I almost didn't open the door. "Son," he said, standing in the hallway like he wasn't sure he had the right to be there anymore. "We need to fix this." "No," I said. He hesitated. "Your sister is." "She made her choices," I interrupted. "So did you." He stood there for a moment longer, looking for an argument that didn't exist. Then he left. No speech. No resolution. Just absence. Day 3, Colonel Vance called me into her office. She didn't sit behind the desk this time. She stood. "I got a call," she said. "From Staff Sergeant Eric Brennan." My stomach tightened slightly, but I didn't show it. "He apologized," she continued, "for his conduct at the dinner." Pause. "And then he commended your professionalism." He studied me for a moment. "He also explained what happened." I exhaled slowly. "Ma'am, I didn't want any of that." "I know," she said immediately. Then her tone softened. "You don't owe your family access to your life just because they share your name. Especially not if they use it as a weapon." I didn't respond. "You're taking 2 weeks of leave," she added. "Effective immediately. That's not negotiable." "Yes, ma'am," I said. And I didn't argue. That alone felt like progress I didn't know I needed. I thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. My mom showed up at my apartment with Maya. I opened the door and found them standing there like they'd rehearsed it and still weren't ready. Maya's eyes were swollen. My mother looked exhausted in a way that went deeper than lack of sleep. "Please," my mom said softly. "Just 5 minutes." Against every instinct that told me not to, I stepped aside. They came in. Maya sat down first and broke immediately. "I'm sorry," she said through tears. "I didn't understand. I thought you were exaggerating. I thought you were trying to make yourself seem important because you weren't." I didn't sit. I stayed standing. "Why would I pretend to be nothing?" I asked. She shook her head fast, crying harder. I don't know. I was jealous. That's the truth. My mother reached for her like that explanation could fix the damage. She made a mistake, she said gently. But she's your sister. Family forgives. I looked at her. Not angry. Just finished with the idea. Does family humiliate each other in public? I asked. Silence. Does family steal money and rewrite someone's life for years? Maya snapped her head up. What are you talking about? Dad gave you $2,000 from what I sent him for car repairs, I said. You used it on Eric's birthday dinner. Her face went pale. Kept going. I've covered your rent. Your emergencies. Your mistakes. And in return, you told everyone I was insignificant. Her voice broke. I didn't mean it like that. Yes, I said quietly. You did. My mother's expression hardened. You're being cruel, she said. This isn't who you are. I shook my head. You don't actually know who I am, I said. You never asked. That's not fair, she said quickly. Isn't it? I asked. You laughed when she called me a secretary. You told me to clean myself up after she threw wine on me. You watched it happen for years. Neither of them spoke. The silence said enough. I'm not trying to destroy her, I said. I'm not asking anyone to punish her. I looked at Maya directly. But I'm not fixing it either. Her voice cracked. So you're done with us? I'm done being your safety net, I said. I'm done being your target. And I'm done being something you reshape to make yourselves comfortable. My mother stepped forward. Jordan, she's your sister. And I'm still your son, I said. That didn't stop either of you from treating me like I wasn't real. A long silence followed. Then I added, if you want a relationship with me, it changes. No money. No cover stories. No pretending I'm less than what I am. Maya wiped her face, shaking. What if I can't do that, she whispered. Then we don't have one. That was it. No yelling. No collapse. Just the end of something that had been dragging on too long. They left 20 minutes later. Quietly. Like they finally understood there was nothing left to negotiate. I didn't hear from Maya again. My parents sent messages anyway. Carefully worded emails, birthday cards, Christmas greetings that avoided every real sentence. I didn't respond. 3 months later I was promoted to major. Colonel Vance recommended me for SOCOM headquarters in Tampa. I accepted. On my last day at Fort Meade I got a message from Eric. Heard about your promotion. Congratulations, sir. You earned it. Then another line. For what it's worth, you were right to walk away. Some people don't deserve access to you. SSG Brennan. I read it once. Then again. Then I saved it, not for validation but for clarity. Respect isn't inherited. It's observed. Epilogue. 1 year later. Tampa didn't fix anything. It just replaced noise with structure. The work was still classified, still heavy, still demanding. But now it was surrounded by people who understood exactly what that meant. No explanations needed. No defenses required. Only execution. I started therapy with Dr. Rebecca Cho, a civilian psychologist who worked with military personnel. She didn't ask me to justify anything. She just listened. You weren't responsible for how they chose to see you, she said once. You were responsible for your work. You did that. They failed the rest. That stayed. A year later I got a LinkedIn message. Hi Jordan. I'm Lieutenant Commander Sarah Brennan, Eric's sister. Eric still uses what happened at that dinner as a teaching example for new Rangers. About respect, assumptions, and humility. He says you never raised your voice. You just let the truth stand on its own. Thank you for that. I read it 3 times. Then I closed my laptop and went for a run along the waterfront, where everything felt wider than memory. My phone buzzed. Colonel Vance. Reeves. How fast can you get to MacDill? I smiled faintly. 20 minutes, ma'am. Good. See you soon. I turned back toward my apartment. Passing strangers living lives that didn't need permission to exist. And for the first time in a long time I wasn't carrying any of them with me. Just clarity. And forward motion.